for torques to star to square to Hey, this is Henry with Woodworking by LPI. How you doing today? Thank you for taking a little time to view our channel and hopefully learn a few things about woodworking, the tools and innovations that go through. So what are we talking about today? Well, today we're going to talk about wood screws, okay? And I know that probably sounds like a weird subject, but wood screws used to be so simple, and now it seems like it's gotten so complicated. I mean, different sizes, different heads on top of them, different tools you got to use to get with them. So, I mean, with all this craziness going on, where you look at different types of wood screws when you go to like your box store, like Lowe's or Home Depot, or your local hardware store, it gets really confusing. And what I want to do is I want to make it a little easier for you with regard to just basics. Okay, now granted, there's certain times that you're going to need a specialized wood screw, a specific length and a specific use or purpose. And you know, I get that. You know, you're going to look for that in a specific type of purpose, wood screw. However, what do you do day to day? I mean, hey, sorry to break in on the video. We'll get right back at it, but I want to make sure that you were aware of our new YouTube channel, Woodworking Wonders. It'll be down in the description, as well as it'll be on our YouTube homepage down at the bottom in the featured channel area. It includes all kind of innovation and woodworking tools. Some of them are new and all kind of innovative stuff that, you know, that probably didn't even know existed. I know I didn't know some of them existed. But I appreciate if you take a moment and take a peek at it. Now back to the video. You're on your wood shop and you typically are doing things over and over and over again, or a specific type of wood product, you know, that you're working on, whether it be a hobby or a business. So, I mean, you're just doing day to day. Do you need all those different types? I mean, my goodness, over there on my shelf, I have different lengths, sizes, different types of heads for Phillips, for torques, to star, to square, I mean, what's the common sense approach? Okay, so if you're just beginning out, do you really need all that? No, not really. Okay, so I just put a new article on my website, woodworking by LPI custom.com. Okay, and of course I'll put the link down in the description on that. I just put a new article. I wrote it because I was inspired by the fact that I get a few folks asking me, what type of wood screws do I do? There's small ones, there's big ones, there's different diameters. Do I do a countersink hole? Do I not? Do I drill before I put the screw in? You know, all those are pretty reasonable questions. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through some of the basic types, okay? And of course I got, you know, my paperwork with me, as you always know I do. And I'm going to show you some common sense approach to looking at wood screws. Okay, so when you're looking at wood screws, there's several things that you want to look for. One, you want to look for purpose. Okay, that's the secret in the sauce on looking at a basic wood screw. And I'm not going to go into, you know, real deep dive on this. Okay, I'm just basically looking at it from a common sense perspective. Okay, so I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different sizes of screw, and then I'm going to show you 3 different heads. Okay, and then I'm going to show you the one that I generically use, and let you know kind of where I'm headed with it. Okay, so as I said here in my article, you know, different sizes, coatings, length is important in selecting the correct type of screw to use with your woodworking projects. Of course, it's important to know if you're going to use it indoor or outdoor. Do you want a coating on it to protect that screw for longevity and long time exposed to weather and things? So if you're doing an outside project, you want to galvanize or you want a coating on it. And specifically say, you know, outdoor, when you look at that, you know, that's kind of a common sense approach, right? Let's look at the different sizes. And I have a chart on my article that I really thought would help out. Because like I said, I try to do this from a common sense perspective. All right, first let's look at the anatomy of a screw, of the wood screw, okay? So let's look at basically what a screw is here. You have the head, okay, and then you have the shank, which is this part here, and then you have the threads, of course, and then the tip. Okay, so why am I telling you all that? Well, the reason I'm telling you that is because, excuse me, they're different per screw, okay? And they're important because that's what taps into the material that you're using and whatever you're joining, whether you're doing a butt join or whether you're doing other types of join with your wood. Okay, so let's look at the different sizes that we have here, okay? And the size really, like I said, I'm going back to my paperwork here. Because I do a lot of these videos off the top of my head, okay? And I you know, I want to make sure that I'm getting information to you the right way, okay? So on my article, I have charts that I put out there for you to look at as a quick reference type thing. Okay, so they have size, the generic size. There's a little bigger, broader scan of what I'm showing you, but this is pretty much the ones that you're going to see and you're going to use. So size 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. Okay, well, what do they look like? Okay, well, let me show you what they look like, okay? All right, so here I have size 4 at 1 inch. I don't know if you can see that or not. I hope you can. Okay, here's a size 6 at 2 1/4 inch, a size 8 at 1 1/4, a size 10 at 2 inch, and a size 12, hope you can see that right there, at 1 3/4 inch. Okay, and then you can see the different sizes of screws. Okay, so to see these different sizes, okay, so number 4, which was the first one I showed you, and as I said here in the chart, they come in 3/8 to 3 1/4 inch long. Number 6 is going to come in a 1/2 inch to 1.5 inches long on your typical size. This one's 2 1/4, but your typical size is up to 1.5 inches long. Your number 8, remember that one because I'm going to come back to this one, typically come in at 5/8 to 3 inches in length. Okay, and your number 10 is going to be 3/4 inch up to 4 inches, and your number 12 is going to be 3/4 inch long up to 6 inches long. Wow, that seems like a really long screw there. Okay, so the numbers reflect the diameter, you know, the size, and you can see how they're slowly getting, you know, bigger. This is a 10, this is a 12. You know, as the number goes up, the diameter of it gets bigger. Okay. Are you going to use all of these different types? And if you're just beginning out, do you really need all these different types? Like I mentioned, I got 1.5 inches, 1 5/8 inches, 2 1/4, 2 1/2, 3, 4 inch over there. Do I really need all of this? Probably not. I do a lot of projects outside, and I do a lot of projects in here. So over time, I've kind of acquired that over time, you know, going out and buying. Okay, and typically I don't buy them in this size. Okay, to save money, I buy them in this size. Okay, and you get a lot better price if you buy it in this pack. This is a pound. Okay, so. And the ones I showed you are for example purposes, but as you can see, this is typically what I buy and what I use. And this is equivalent to a number 8. Okay, it has a Phillips head, and I'm slowly migrating to the Torx head. You know, the Torx head. This is a Phillips. And I'm slowly migrating to the Torx because it's a little easier, a little less frustrating. So when I run out of these, I'll completely go over to the Torx. But that's typically what I buy. I bought these down here to show you the representation of this size. Okay. So the most generic one that you're going to use out of all of these to join your pieces, you know, like I said, for any type of, you know, butt joint. So as you're joining pieces of wood, you're going to use screws. You're going to use glue and nail to hold it together. Then you're going to use screws over time, especially when you're putting a support in the back. Okay. So the one that you're going to use the most is the number 8. Okay. And the number 8, as I showed you out of this pound box, is that one. Okay. And that's equal to, okay. And they come in different various lengths. I would recommend 1 1/4 inch to 1 5/8 inch in length. Okay, that's going to be the most common one that you use. Okay, so don't go out and buy a whole variety of screws. I mean, trust me, you're really not going to need it unless you have a specific project. I wouldn't recommend that you go out and get those screws. It's really not going to be worth it. And if you go on my my website, you can see these charts, and you're going to see as to what you can use them for. So the small screw for the light holding, all the way to the biggest screw for your heavy holding construction beams and heavy applications. Okay, but the number 8 is going to be the general purpose, most applications with medium holding. And that's going to be the one you're going to use the most, number 8. Okay, and like I said, I get it in this form. Okay, but I bought these here so you can have a representation of it. All right, so a couple other things I want to go over real quick before I wrap this up. There are different types of heads that you're going to see for different applications. Okay, you're going to see a pan head. As you can see, it has kind of like a dome of sorts. You're going to see a flat. See how the bottom is flat on it? Now that one looks flat, but it's really not. This is more of a pan. This is more of a flat. This one you're going to use with washers. This one you won't. And then you're going to have the beveled edge, which is the one that 99% of the time that I'm going to use. As you can see, it has the beveled edge to it. And this is a number 8. All right. My intent on this video wasn't to go into great in depth on wood screws and such, but to give you a general idea of the different sizes that you're going to see and really what you need. I mean, you don't need a whole plethora of screws, okay? Because as we go through the days, you're going to see that things change, okay? So I had to get one of these to acclimate to some of the things, especially some of the products that my customers bring into me that I have to, take apart and put back together. The different types of screws, from Torx to flat to Phillips to square. I mean, wow. Okay, I prefer staying with one thing that works. As you know, like from my router video, I like centraling it down to things that make sense. So my recommendation for this short video, just for wood screws, is to know the purpose, know the typical length of inch and a quarter, inch and a 5/8 at the very most, number 8, and know the others exist, but most likely you probably won't need them. If you want, and last tip, I'm sorry, the last thing you want to look at is if you're looking at a countersink size. I also put a nice chart out there with regard to the number of screw and the countersink size. Now, countersink, what I mean by that is a countersink is a beveled hole that you're going to put into the material. So when you go to put that screw in, as you see, it has a beveled edge. It makes it down to the level of the wood. It's going to come down here, and it's not going to cause any blemish on the wood, majority of the time. Although I'm sure we all have moments. I know I do. So it brings it down and it doesn't cause problems with the wood. Of course, you definitely should pre-drill your hole prior to putting any wood screws in. Misconception about nails. Okay, I wanted to throw that out there also real quick. I do use a brad nailer. I do use a finishing nailer on heavy things out in the yard and the enclosure rebuild out here for the animals and things of that nature. Of course, I use a framing nailer and such like that. But I'm still going to use screws. In the shop here, I use mostly the brad nailer. And it's when I'm joining two pieces of wood and I'm gluing things together for boxes and joints and things like that, I'm going to use a nailer to hold that in. But my preference, majority of the time when I use things, is a wood screw. And I think it's a misconception among a lot of woodworkers. You see woodworkers using nails and glue, and the glue does hold very, very well. But you're going to use screws all the time. Okay, that's really the bottom line. So number 8 is what you're going to look at. Okay, buy them in bulk. Okay, and if you want to countersink it, and you want to look at a length of 1 1/4 inch, inch and 5/8. That's really the bottom line. So I hope this was informative to you with regard to the different heads, the different types of screws, and the one that I recommend that you're going to use generically across the board for probably 90% of your wood projects. Okay, so again, this is Henry with Woodworking by LPI. This is a real quick video, real like crunch, video over wood screws, and I hope it helped. Okay, and I'll see you on the next video.